Well, welcome to Paraphobia Radio. I am happy to be here tonight, and with me, like always, the Shadow, and of course, our new helper, Sean. How you guys doing this evening?
Doing just fine, Anna. Anna, how are you?
Oh, and it's fine and dandy. I can't wait to get this broadcast started. I am very, very excited to have these two lovely people on. It's an honor to have them here tonight. And Shadow, would you introduce them to everyone?
All right. Before I do that, I am going to do a couple of quick shout out. This show, as always, is streaming on Parapost Network Central. So if you
Mhm.
guys want to check out more shows, if you have a podcast of your own and you'd like to stream to this network, you can find them on Facebook. Reach out to Brian Laverty or anybody else. They'll be more than happy to get you set up. And Parapost is also sponsoring the Global Ghost Hunt, which is a stated by the name, a worldwide event. We have teams from all over that are going to be investigating some amazing locations, and this is a 10-day event. If you want to find out more information, check out www.globalghosthunt.com. Register your team, register your location, or just see who's showing up and find out ways to even volunteer. And with that out of the way, we are going to get our guests on. Now, these guys, they have been on several shows. You can find them on the Travel Channel, Discovery Plus, as well as their new show, The Secrets of the Asylum, which can be found on Fox Nation. So definitely get on there, check them out. If you don't have Fox Nation, you can get a free trial and get their show. So without any further ado, let's bring on Scott Porter and Stephanie Burke. Let me get up. There we go.
Oh, I was going to say, what happened to Stephanie?
I'm here.
She's MIA.
Well, welcome to Paraphobia Radio. It's a pleasure, guys, of having you here. And with that said, I would like to start with Scott. Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my gosh.
I know you got a lot.
It's funny because people always, it's always a question that's asked. Tell us who you are. Well, I'm Scott Porter. I am from the great state of Tennessee, and I've been on a bunch of shows. If you remember, Ghostland, Tennessee, Ghost Asylum, Haunted Towns, Haunted Live, Exorcism Live, all those shows, and of course, now Secrets of the Asylum. I've been paranormal investigating or ghost hunting a couple decades. Before that, I was just really curious because growing up in the South, everybody has a story, and it
Right.
seems like down here, the big time to tell stories is when families come together, and late at night, the kids are going to bed, and some of the adults are still up, and maybe some of the older kids are up, and people start telling stories, and that was what really got me curious. Was all these people had stories, and I didn't have one, but yet everyone said that ghosts didn't exist, but everybody had a story. So it just kind of was this weird situation that always made me question why do they have stories, and they say they don't exist, but I've never seen one. And then years later, I had an experience while I was in college that was a very vivid experience. It involved with my first experience. It involved sight, sound, smell. It was the whole 9 yards. A full-bodied apparition in a house that was had no real depth of history to it. The land does, but not the house itself. So that kind of just really turned me on to the trying to find out what these entities are, why do they make the appearances they make, and what is it that they want to tell us, and why do they want to tell us that?
Awesome.
Here we are.
That's awesome. Stephanie, a little bit what's going on with you. I know you have a lot with being a medium and a lot of stuff with that. So let's tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up the exact opposite of Scott. I was born and raised in New England, and
Nice.
being a psychic medium, I don't know what it's like to be normal. I was born with the abilities that I have. It ran in my family for 10 generations that I know of. That genealogy traces back to the Mayflower, the Salem witch trials, and other prominent figures in early American history, which is fascinating to me because I'm such a nerd. It's not even funny.
It's quite okay. We all are.
I didn't know I was any different than anybody else until my grandmother passed when I was 7.
Right.
And that was just a realization. Nobody had to really explain death to me. It was just like a slap of reality. And I just kept going from there. So it's something that I hid from for a really long time. Nobody wants to be different. Nobody wants to be the outcast, or nobody wants to feel like something about them is strange or different than everybody else. So it wasn't until I was in my mid-teens that I started to really embrace, the nerdiness, the love for paranormal and supernatural, and the abilities that I had, and kind of mixed them all together and started to publicly, I guess you could say, ghost hunt. Because before that, it was a lot of exploring with my dad, who was ghost hunting long before any of this was available to anybody. He would take a regular, heavy duty actual camera with different films in it.
Those shoulder mounted ones you carried everywhere.
Not necessarily, like actual photography cameras.
Okay.
Not like a video camera. And yep, and like where you develop the film yourself. So he would be ghost hunting in the 60s, the 70s. And my mom, of course, is where I got my abilities from. So my childhood wasn't exactly what everybody else expects, as normal. But fast forward to, I don't know what year it was now. I think it was 2015 when I first started filming for TV. Before that, I just had a love of what I did. I love to explore. I was a co-host on Spooky South Coast Radio, which a lot of people are familiar with. They've been around for 20 years now, or close to 20 years. I think we just hit 17 or 18. I can't remember. We didn't get to celebrate this year because my co-host had surgery, but I've been doing that for a long time. I was doing events all over the New England area for years and years to help raise money for historical locations. And I eventually ended up on TV, which I never planned on doing at all. Anybody that knows me knows I'm very shy and it's not my thing, but I felt like if I could help more people that way, then that's absolutely what I want to do. So I did an episode of Ghost Hunters when it was still on Sci-Fi. I filmed for Kindred Spirits during their first and second seasons, and eventually moved on to, one-offs here and there. I was able to do a documentary for Tubi called Famously Haunted Amityville, and eventually ended up on Fox Nation with this bald guy.
Wait a minute.
I keep making fun of you already.
You missed one TV appearance though. What was that first one?
What do you mean?
What was that first TV appearance you did? What was that first one? About? You don't know what I'm talking about. That first one? I can't think of what it was called. What was it called?
I don't know.
Uh-oh.
It was a long time. It was a long time ago. You were very young.
Oh no! Listen, you're done. You're done.
Now she's cutting you off. She's cutting you off. Oh no!
Listen to me.
Boy.
It wasn't. What was it? It wasn't Charlie Brown. What was it?
Oh Jesus.
Okay. All
right. It's gonna be one of those shows, but that's quite okay.
She's like, don't talk about that one. I think it's cool.
Nope, we're not going there.
Okay.
But,
that's saved for like a book down the road somewhere, trivia question, whatever it might be. We're not going there. So
you guys need to be watching for our book. We'll be talking about her first appearance in TV. It was in children's television.
You're so mean.
There we go.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
You have to embrace those things. I mean, I was in a tire commercial. Come on.
Do you know what happens when the internet gets a hold of things like that? They're
going to be looking for me being the Michelin Man now. What are you
good, I
hope
so. Out of control.
Oh boy.
Can't take you anywhere.
Oh boy.
Sorry, we take over sometimes. We don't mean to.
You know what? It's all good. That's how it is here. You do whatever you like. It's okay. There's no rules in this room.
Woo-hoo, love it.
He needs it.
No rules. I hate rules.
I'm unhinged.
Never.
Yeah,
Gremlin. Don't feed him or get him wet after midnight.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
My wife
So-
always, has an issue with bringing me in public because I don't stay quiet sometimes. So when I see
Yeah.
something stupid, I call it out.
Yeah.
And, or sometimes, to keep it as PG as possible, I get a little handy with my wife.
Yeah.
I mean, I love her,
Yeah.
and she's always like, just stop, there's people over there, or there's cameras, or there's a cop walking up to the car, and it's like, so?
I tell Steph that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
But,
Aw.
you mentioned having a show on Fox Nation. I'm curious about this because Fox Nation, Fox Network has been, for the most part, a pretty conservative network.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you guys got your show on Fox Nation,
That's
first off,
pretty good.
congratulations. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
how
thank
did that strike you guys when you heard that show was going to be on Fox Nation?
Well, we actually, when it came to us and said something about it, we loved it because we were going to be the first on the network and the
Right.
only ones on the network. We're the anchor show. And then, of course, then they purchased some other shows to fill in around the show during Halloween. I think they purchased a season or a couple episodes of Ghost Hunters, and then they filmed a haunted hotels kind of show there. But it was, it was an opportunity that, we were like, okay, well, it's a new platform. It is a new group of people that we'll have access to be able to show them what we do and enjoy what we do. It just, it was different. Nobody else was really, buying shows and putting shows out there, and they gave us an opportunity. And I think the biggest part that I can really say that I loved about them is that they were hands off. They were like, you guys go do a show. There's no script. There's no throwouts. There's no direction that we're going to give other than go investigate. And then our producer, he was amazing. Rob is awesome. He's like, let the spirits write the show. There's no
Right.
need to have any type of framework. We show up and we do our thing. And not to mention when they said we were going to do a deep dive into one location, that was what we had always wanted to do.
Right.
And so it was a perfect match.
Yeah, I have to say, I went ahead and take a look at Secrets of the Asylum, and to me, from what I saw, I'm really, really impressed with it. Only because sometimes when you don't hear evidence with other TV shows, because they always end up cutting them out. But with this one, with the first few episodes in the beginning, I heard exactly what you guys heard. Is that like the woman moaning in the back on the 5th floor, the water drip, the chains? It was incredible. I was really, really impressed with it.
Yeah, it definitely didn't disappoint. That's for sure.
No.
It was very active.
It was. But that was one of the big things that we did. We talked about that while we were there, is that we were putting the show together, and I think you were the one that brought it up and said, take out all the music. Like, we don't need music while we're investigating. And like with the conversation with Rob, he was like, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, he was on board with that completely.
Yeah.
We actually had somebody, I can't remember, I think it was while we were in Tennessee, and we were doing a talk about the show, and they said, please tell us that you're not going to be one of these shows. They're like, did you hear that? And all you hear is background music. And I told them, it's something that everybody has become accustomed to. And not to say anything bad about paranormal TV, because we have many friends that work in the industry. We've had successful shows or been guests on successful shows, but everything became cookie cutter.
Yeah.
It became the same show with a different cast. And I don't know if it's because it was put on by the same network, or it just became a formula that everybody just kind of lazily followed. Like, oh, look, this worked for them, so let's do it too. But we said to them, the reason why you hear music or spooky music when people are saying like, oh, did you hear that? Is because they didn't capture any audio. So they have to fill that time. with something for people to listen to. But what happens is they don't realize the audience is getting aggravated, turning up their volume, really trying to listen in. All they hear is music. So that was something that we didn't have to fight for, but we suggested, and it was automatic. Like, nope, that's exactly what we're doing. You have no worries whatsoever.
Yeah,
Nice.
I loved it. It was incredible. Like I said, you just don't hear it in other shows, and yours we did, and it was the best thing. It was awesome.
We had a great audio guy too, so
Yes, we did. Yeah.
I do want to make a couple of quick shout outs for some of our viewers. We have Speaking Ghost with A&L. We've had them on the show before. They're some really nice people. They got some good stuff going on.
Yeah, that's my team out in New York.
Yep, and this is Nikki. Thanks for stopping by, as well as Todd. So thanks for stopping by. If you guys get the moment, share this out, and get more people in. Everybody is welcome to comment their questions if they want to ask our guests anything themselves. Speaking of questions, Sean, do you have one?
Yeah, I have one for Steph.
Sure.
Being born with the abilities to see, hear, communicate, and surrounded by energy, how did that make you feel, knowing you could feel the energy around you when you were younger, and how did you adapt to it?
So I always tell people, the best analogy I can give people is I was born with asthma, right? So I don't know what it's like to breathe like a normal person, but everybody else does, right? So if I were to get the chance to breathe through it like a normal set of lungs, I'd probably be shocked. Different things like that. If you guys think about things that you've dealt with in your life, you're just accustomed to it. You don't know what it's like. So I always tell people I was born with these abilities. It's almost like a light switch that was turned on in my brain automatically. So I never got the chance to be without it. So, growing accustomed to it wasn't a situation that I dealt with at all. I thought what I was experiencing was just normal everyday stuff. My mother experienced things too. The house I grew up in was built in 1792. It's historically used as part of the Underground Railroad. And what I saw all the time, I just thought was normal. If you grow up, from the time that you're a baby and you see other people walking around your house and you communicate with them, you don't think twice about it. You have this knowing that like they're not interacting with everybody, but they're interacting with you. Many kids have that experience. A lot of people chalk it up to just imaginary friends. There was a ghost that used to walk from one doorway in my bedroom every night to like the doorway to exit. So like doorway from the bathroom, the doorway to exit every single night. When I was in bed, I would sit up, I would wave at him. He would say goodnight. I'd lay down and I'd go to bed. No idea who he was. Never asked him. Just we had an understanding. We said goodnight every single night. At some point in time in my life, I started to name them all Sir Simon because of the movie from the 1970s, The Canterville Ghost. And it's about a little girl that befriends a ghost in a castle. And
I remember that.
So all of my ghosts were named Sir Simon at that point. It was just normal. My parents just allowed me to be. They allowed me to be who I was. They didn't push me in one way or another. The only thing that my mom started to tell me when it became time for like preschool was, don't tell the other kids what color they are because I could see auras. Don't tell them who's around them. And, I'll pick you up at 2:30. Don't get kicked out by I love you because I went to Catholic school. So it became something that was normal in the house. But if you went outside the house, you kind of kept it to yourself. And like I said, it wasn't until my grandmother passed away when I was 7 that I suddenly realized I could see her physically one moment and I could see her in the form that I saw all my Sir Simons in the next. And that was, as they're saying, like, she died. I understood what death was in that moment, but nobody had to explain it to me. And it became this like overwhelming feeling of, oh no, this is what this is. It didn't change how I felt about it. It just made me feel eventually a little more strange. Like as I got older, I didn't want friends to find out I was different. That was, I think, the worst thing that I dealt with, especially in junior high. Like junior high and high school are probably the worst. I don't know anybody that really enjoyed them.
No, I didn't really care for high school either, so I'm right there with you.
It was hard, and being different and trying to hide, psychic ability alone is tough enough. I would finish
Yes.
people's sentences. I didn't realize what I was doing, but when I was in junior high, the days of writing notes back and forth and leaving them in your friends' lockers because cell phones were not a thing yet. I'm that old.
Oh yeah.
So I would write, advice to my friends, whether, whatever junior high kids are worried about, friendships, boyfriends, whatever. And my advice would constantly come to fruition. So my friends would joke and call me, oh, you're like a fortune cookie. And I didn't realize later on that I was essentially running a service that I could have charged for,
Yes, definitely.
Thought I was really good at advice for a while. So it was really interesting. And I think even in high school, not many people knew, like very, very, very close people to me that had been to my house or things like that understood. But other than that, I really didn't tell the world until I was out of high school. Cause like, who wants to deal with bullying?
No, you don't want to. Yeah.
No.
Especially through high school and everything is the worst thing ever. So I totally understand where you're coming from with that.
So by the time I got out of high school, I believe Ghost Hunters had already aired on Sci-Fi. So people were starting to become intrigued with the paranormal. And it made it a little bit easier to tell people, like, I like ghosts too. I love history too. I really did try for a little while, like when people would ask me, like, oh no, I just really love paranormal investigating. Please don't out me as a psychic medium. I would beg people. I'm like, please don't do it. I remember the first time somebody posted about me being like on their radio show as a psychic medium. And I quite literally had a panic attack. I hate attention.
Wow.
Scott will tell you, like everywhere I go, like, please, if I could throw a blanket over my head, I would. Like, I'm just a shy human. So I panicked because I'm like, how are people going to react to this? Because everybody always loves to have an opinion, right?
Absolutely.
It took me years to be comfortable enough with it to really put my knowledge out there, put my abilities out there. I can tell you I still don't love, doing a gallery reading in front of 200 people. That's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
I think for anybody.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So, but other than that, I embrace what I do now that I'm much older than I was then.
Yeah,
it took
you
a while.
understand it more. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
So I hope that answered it.
I definitely understand where you're coming from because I can relate. I'm also get the medium as well, and we totally are almost the same where you're coming from with your gift and your. I would never want to do a gala of 200 people. I would freak. I'm stage frightened and everything else, and it's like because you don't want to say something wrong or get something wrong, and then you're like, oh, now you're frozen, and then what are you gonna do? So I totally understand where you're coming from. I also got my gift from my mother's sister's side as well. So you and me have a lot in common, which is kind of spooky. I could totally relate with you.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
I also got my gifts from my mother's side as well. So I can understand that. And it comes back to the Celtics and stuff like that as well.
That's where mine comes from.
Yeah.
I had people tell me that I should talk to somebody because I freak myself out. Okay, so there was this conversation. I'm not going to say name because the person involved is still not comfortable talking about this. But there were two women involved, and I was in the conversation, and the whole conversation I kept getting this image of a white car under like a street light, and it just was bugging me, and finally I was just like, all right, does the white car mean anything to either one of you? And all of a sudden, one of the girls, her face just dropped in color. And she stopped talking for the rest of the night. Well, a few days later, she messaged me saying, I'm really sorry about freaking out, but 20 years ago, I was kidnapped and held captive in a white car. And ever since then, when I get these little flashes, I do everything I can to shut them down because, well, one is they're not always pretty.
Right.
And sometimes they trigger a certain emotional response that I can't understand because it's not something I would go through.
Mm-hmm.
When you guys were doing the Secrets of the Asylum, did you come across a situation where, Stephanie, you felt something like that, something that wasn't explainable to you, and then Scott, you were able to corroborate that with some sort of evidence through EVP or any kind of situation, or was there something that just tied everything together for you guys in that moment?
So I think the main thing that Scott and I do, and he can give his answer as well. The thing that I think I love most about what we do together is I will do a walkthrough or part of an investigation. For us, this was, a lot of people don't realize, we were on scene at Eloise for about 6 weeks investigating.
Wow.
This wasn't just, a week-long thing. We were there. We'd go home, we'd come back. We'd go home, we'd come back for like 2 weeks at a time. So an initial walkthrough is what started it. But we would have different investigations on different nights where that would help us. That would help us write the next episode. What we're going to look into or what we're doing that night. So my favorite thing to do, because I'm not allowed to know anything at all walking into a place.
Right. Yeah.
Scott's allowed to know more. And it's really, really difficult because he's really good at secret keeping. There's nothing I can do to get him to tell me anything. So
except for that one thing.
She's tried waterboarding me and everything else. Just
Wow.
So, liar. But when it comes down to it, Scott actually carried a little notebook around with him. And he wrote down every single word that I said. And he and our research team would take that. Actually, they'd be listening to me live as well, but they would take that together and they would dig for actual historical documents that backed what I said.
Right.
And I don't ever want to rely solely on like a REM pod or a K2 meter, or something of that sort.
Right.
We use Echovox, which is
yeah, I saw that.
It's not your typical spirit box. I'm not a fan of spirit boxes because they are easily manipulated.
Yeah,
Echovox is
definitely.
just phonetic sound bites. So we do use different things like that to corroborate historical evidence, but we do heavily rely on historical documents.
Yeah. Now, the Echovox, is that the one that's made by, I believe, Big Bear Tech?
Danny Roberge is his name.
Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, there's an Echovox that I've used. And it's like exactly like you said, it's just sound bites that just cycle through, and they pick out or they use whatever to communicate. So I was just kind of wondering if that's the same thing.
It's an app.
Yeah.
So it's literally the only app that I really. I mean, there's lots of apps out there. I'm not knocking any of them, but I've talked to Danny, and we've had conversations about Echovox. It's legitimately the simplest programming that there is. All it does is randomly scan these sounds and play them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a connect to the GPS of your phone. It doesn't have a way to listen to you and then search the interwebs for some type of word to say. It's completely standalone, hyper scanning sounds and then plays the sounds that it's triggered by. And when the best part about the Echovox is when I asked Danny, when I was riding on the road, I'll never forget it. I said, okay, I have got to speak on TV live about this thing and how it works. I said, Danny, give me a quick download of how it works. And he goes, brother, I don't know how it works.
Right.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I have high respect for you now. You just told me that this is your toy and your tool, and it's weird and strange, and it does cool stuff, and you have no clue how it does it. So I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he is the creator of Echovox. There is only one program out there called Echovox. If that helps answer the question, or for people that are listening.
Yeah, it's black and gold, or kind of oranges. Yeah,
that's it.
It's a
yeah,
triangle.
that's the one I use. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We started using it, myself and my co-host Tim Weisberg on Spooky South Coast Radio. We started using it when Danny first developed it over a decade ago. And I introduced, actually way more than a decade ago, because I introduced you to it almost a decade ago now, which is crazy to think about. I think my favorite part of those, not only what Scott mentioned, it can't infiltrate, or something can't infiltrate it, like a GPS location,
Right.
or, sound banks or anything like that. We have tested it in so many different manners, because that's how Scott and I investigate, or part of how we investigate is we will test things till kingdom come to make sure that there is no way that you can walk away going, it could have been this. We want that definitive answer. We have heard it speak foreign languages. We've had to get complete interpreters in different parts of the world to say, do you understand what this is saying? And they can translate it for us, no problem. They can speak a foreign language to it, and it'll answer back perfectly in a foreign language. So
we've even had it speak dead languages.
Yes.
So, no kidding, like ancient Hawaiian. That is, like University Hawaiian is one thing. The ancient language is the language that's only spoken by the kahunas on the island, and
it's like pre-Samoan.
Correct, and it's handed down by family. It's not written, so you can't go out here and Google it and study it. It has to be handed down to you from your family.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that. That's all new to me.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. It is really cool stuff.
We love EchoVox for that reason, for sure.
Yeah, I always wanted one. The spirit box, like you said, I like the spirit box and everything, but sometimes you can't really tell what it's trying to say. There's too much going on at once, and you don't know if you're going to have multiple spirits, or is playing games with you, or if it's just a radio wave coming through. So what you guys are using, I like that a whole lot better. Like you said, you get more and better responses with that instead of a spirit box.
I'll send you the link for that app later on after the show.
Yeah. I just had a conversation with someone about spirit boxes and Echo Box and the reasons why we use it. But so many people have gotten used to spirit boxes and they use them incorrectly.
Yeah.
They listen to the radio transmissions, and the way it was originally created, it was a shack hack. Back when Radio Shack was around.
I remember making the shack hacks. Yes.
I'm not dating ourselves or anything.
No. We're still young, we swear.
But the thing about it was it was a filter in there that removed the static between the stations. And so you did the shack hack, remove that filter, so that way you got that static in between stations, and it was in that static and white noise where those voices would come through, and that's what you're supposed to be listening for. The problem is over time people they've watched TV, they've listened to what happens on TV, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. They grab it, they go out, they start investigating. And let's say they're in Boston and they're downtown and they're near the ocean front or the waterfront, and they turn their radio on and it goes through and it says tea. And they're like, oh my God, it's a ghost from the Boston Tea Party. And no, it's an advertisement about boba tea over here on the corner. You know.
If anybody's been to Boston, you know how big Boston sports are. You're going to hear the word Boston over and over and over again. So people are in Boston and they're like, can you tell us the name of our location? Boston. And people lose their minds. We're like, no kidding. Really?
That was Big Joe on the go. Let's keep going.
Yeah, we love things that really give you that definitive, like, what just happened. And there's no way that you could possibly explain that.
Right.
So, go ahead, Sean.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I thought Aaron was going to say something.
No,
I'm calling you to add if you got a question.
What kind of protection do you guys carry with you? Do you guys carry crystals, obsidian, anything like that when you come into certain places?
I don't. Uh, I honestly don't.
Okay.
I've had people give me things before. I'm a religious guy. My faith is pretty strong, and I've always said a prayer before I do anything. That's every day. There's always a
Right.
prayer that's said for protection of God be around us, and that's one thing. I put my faith there. I also believe from our standpoint of what we do in our investigations, that if our ancestors are out there, they're going to really be paying attention and and be protecting us as well.
Right.
Some of us, we are more connected and grounded in our
Hmm.
ancestral origins than what others are. And some ancestral origins are different than others.
Hmm.
I happen to be a descendant of a Cherokee chief.
Mm.
So, that I think that's one of the things that really comes across when I'm in locations that are connected to the indigenous or native people.
Right.
I can tell you that I've investigated locations where people, and not just one or two people, but many people have said they felt very uncomfortable, and I'll go in and I'm like, why do you think this is uncomfortable? It feels like home.
Hmm.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and you start digging into the history of it and you find out why, because it has some type of deep connection to ancestral natives. And so you make those connections by doing the research too, and you have a different respect. And one of the things that I know Stephanie said all the time is that intentions
Hmm.
are
Right.
huge in what we
Mhm.
do. And so many people, when they do investigate, their intentions, I'm not saying they're not pure, but they are not conducive to carrying out what those spirits want to get across to you.
Hmm.
And so in some of those situations, it's going to seem more adversarial or more not as friendly. And
Right.
so, and people are like, oh my gosh, it's a demon. No, you just made it mad.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
yeah, you just made it mad. It doesn't like you.
Right.
Move along. That's all you can
Yeah.
say. You know, demons, elementals, different creatures. But
Hmm.
mostly what we deal with are going to be nice or just mad spirits.
I
But yes,
Right.
think,
that's my protection.
I mean, that's a great
Mhm.
way to answer that. And I think that this answer could probably take me the next 3 hours covering every,
That's okay.
type of thing. But
All good.
while I don't knock crystals at all, I've actually taught classes on them. I'm very, very well versed in them, their properties, what they do.
Mhm.
But crystals are used almost like tuning forks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, whatever the property of obsidian, we'll say, since you mentioned that one, your body will be like a tuning fork to that particular crystal's energy. How is that protecting you against something negative?
You just
All it
don't know.
does is it's absorbing, or you're hoping it's absorbing negative energy, but it's not going to suck a demon into the stone. You know what I mean?
Right.
No.
Um,
No.
unless you're throwing the crystal at something, it's not going to protect you from much. Having knowledge of, like Scott mentioned, where you are, the history of where you are, respecting the people of that location and the culture of that location, understanding energy and having knowledge in energy and how it works is also really important too. So, I can out you now too, but I've been a Reiki master teacher for a very long time, and I certified Scott in that as well. So that way he kind of understood the idea of energy and manipulating energy in a way that you want to and need to in order to protect your own energy, but also to understand the energy around you as well. So having that knowledge also helps you while you're in a particular situation that you might not want to be in. Putting
Right.
yourself in the line of fire, I never agree with, anyways. Like, if something is reportedly god awful, evil happened there, you can think of the worst possible paranormal situation, right? I don't understand what really attracts people to go, let's go poke the bear. Let's
Right.
do it. Maybe have somebody that can understand what's happening there. If it's
Right.
happening to multiple people, go in and try to tell you exactly what's happening, and then, really try to fix the situation or say, yep, sorry, it's too dangerous.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's an angry elemental. I can't remember where we were, babe, but we had a location where people were losing their minds,
Wow.
overly emotional. They were saying, like, there's such evil here. We walked in, it was a bunch of Native American spirits that were really upset about what happened to the location,
Yeah.
and to them
Right.
at the location, to their bodies at said location.
Wow.
Their graves were torn apart.
That's
And
terrible.
it was horrible.
Two
So,
Rivers
yeah.
Mansion.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if you wanted to say it or not, but
It's okay.
we
It's
walked
in the
in
history.
and we have this situation. They're like, no, it's evil. No, it's not. You disrespected greatly, not only this people, the chief and its culture. You have to make that right.
Yes,
But,
absolutely.
we both have Native American blood, so we're able to go in there and, have a conversation with respect and get to the bottom of what's happening. I can't prove to you that that's going to happen every single time for the rest of our lives. Sometimes it might be something that we have to call somebody else in.
Right.
Sorry, my dog.
No, that's okay.
When we're in Hawaii, now we both have and have been blessed with being welcomed into Native Hawaiian families in Hawaii. We have ancient markings on us that are very particular to their ancestors. And I feel blessed that we've been able to do that. It doesn't mean we can walk into any Hawaiian location and tell the spirits there what to do. That
Right.
type of thing, I can promise you 1,000% because I've dealt with it for the last, I don't know how many years. I'm calling in an expert when we go there. I'm not handling that myself because I'm not fully equipped to do so. I don't know everything about their culture. I don't know everything about how it works. And I don't want to be disrespectful to the spirits or the deities that are there because they are very much alive and very well and will chew you up and spit you out if you do not follow the rules.
Wow.
Yeah.
We watch it to happen.
I can definitely agree with you on a lot of things, Stephanie, because my mentor used to be a Reiki master. She's
Yep.
taught me a lot. And I've also have access to a shaman that I've been taking shamanic healing classes and stuff like that. So, and having the markings like you're talking about, because I've got several markings of my own. So I can understand exactly where you're coming from with the energy and all that stuff as well.
Yep. I think it's respectful. At the end of the day, it's respectful to know the culture,
Yes.
know the entities, understand. And also, like I said, we were welcomed into the Hawaiian culture. Neither of us, to our knowledge, has Hawaiian blood. But because there were ceremonies done, we're accepted into that. But for the most part, he and I follow our own cultures. I grew up amongst many different cultures. It's very common nowadays for people to grow up with no culture. Which I think is so strange because I don't know what that's like. Very similar to I was born different, but having that knowledge in my own culture has helped me in so many different ways. And I know it's helped Scott as well.
Wow. That's a whole level of knowledge I just learned. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm glad you brought up about, stones and what they're supposed to do because I carry stuff with me as well, thinking that it's going to protect me. People tell me things that, you should have this, you should have that. But nobody tells you to carry a cross with you, of all things.
Right.
You think having that better than having stones will be a lot better, or it's different because people don't always believe with the crosses. They more believe in other things.
Yeah.
I think, we'll probably answer the same, but, he'll have his answer too. But I always tell people,
Yes.
Are you Christian? Are you Catholic? Do you believe in Jesus or God? And a lot of people will just think, I think it was actually a girl on our crew. I'm sorry, I have to pick up my short dog because she can't get out of bed. I'll keep talking. And she keeps fighting me too. So I remember, success. Sorry.
Sorry.
When
It's all good.
oh my goodness. I think it was a girl on our crew that came to help for a few nights that was wearing a cross, and she was terrified of Eloise. And she had said to us, like, oh, that's why I'm wearing this. And I'm like, are you religious? She's like, no. I'm like,
Yeah.
then honey, it's not going to help you.
Yeah.
But I looked at her and I was
You
like,
got a
don't
false
worry.
idol.
Yeah. I'm like, they want me, not you. So you're pretty safe. Don't worry about it. And,
Right.
you know, laughed it off and went home that night. But, you know, I say to people, like, wearing the Star of David, if you're not Jewish, that doesn't mean anything. You don't even understand the history or the meaning behind it. Same
Right.
thing with a cross. A cross is a little bit more accepted in like pop culture and everyday,
Mhm.
you know, everything. It's depicted in so many different TV shows or movies, and people think that they have an understanding of it. But unless you study it and you understand and have been tortured through Catholic school for years and years and years, you know, if you know what that's like, then you really understand what the meaning is behind that, or you grew up with deep faith and you understand what that's like. But if you don't believe in it and you don't have a belief at all,
Right.
you know, why is Jesus going to protect you?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You never spoken to him before, never prayed, never did anything.
Right.
It's different.
Very true. Actually, I got a question for Scott. I feel bad that we haven't talked to him too much. In the Secret of Asylums, I
you're
have to
fine.
ask this question because I'm very eager to, because how it happened. One of your producers has gotten hurt by Scratch. How did you handle that situation? And especially with Stephanie's abilities, do you ever get nervous if she ever gets, God forbid, into that position? How would you handle it?
Okay, let's see here. Number one, let's talk about Stephanie for a minute there. You know, if it is she is very conservative in what she does when she's investigating,
Mhm.
and is always looking to be sure that there's protection around her and me when we're in there investigating.
Right, absolutely.
So she handles that very well. And if at any point in time that we feel that there's a situation that is getting out of hand, then either one of us will grab the other and be like, "Hey, listen, we need to step out. We need to get away from this." And that's just how we
Right.
do it. We have a safe word. I don't remember it now. Oops.
I do.
Uh-oh. Okay.
I'll
But
text it to you later.
anyway, we have a safe word, and that way, when it's said, it's one of those things that just we know it, and when it's said, it triggers, and then we remove ourselves from the
Right.
situation. In the show, this was a very unique situation that happened.
I saw.
Out of
Yep.
out of all my years of investigating, I've seen umpteen hundred people come out and say I've been scratched by a ghost. And I'll look at it and I'm like, well, you just went in the bathroom. And I don't
Yeah.
know, nobody's really acknowledged you all night. I think you want a little attention. So I think maybe you rubbed your back against the wall. Maybe you did this or maybe you did that.
Yeah.
So I've really always had a healthy skepticism of that type of physical interaction. I mean, I've been pinched and I've been touched, but out of all
Yeah.
the places I've been, I've never been physically accosted. I've never been scratched like that. And
Right.
in this particular situation, as the night was building when we were there, we could feel the energy around us. I mean, it was so apparent. We had pieces of concrete thrown at us down the hallway.
Yeah.
Just coming out of nowhere.
My hair
And
was pulled.
your hair was pulled. Things had happened all night long that we
Oh
couldn't.
no.
I mean, we heard
no.
things. We heard things rush up behind us, and you turn around to look, see what it was, and there's nothing there. No more movement. It's just the rush of whatever, and then it's gone. And so, in that particular instance, Steph and I both were looking straight at that camera guy. And he's sitting there filming us, and he caught our attention because when he stepped into that room, he bumped the camera against the door frame. And so, we're shooting with 4K cameras. These rigs are, a couple hundred, $300,000 each. And so when he bumps it, we're like, don't do that thing you just did. That's going to cost money. And so it caught our attention. And so we're both looking at him as we're continuing trying to feel the location and connect to the location. And then all of a sudden he throws the camera down and he comes rushing out of the room and he says, and he didn't say something scratched me or something bit me. He said something is stinging me. So
yeah, I saw that.
Our thoughts are, he must have a wasp or something that's gotten his shirt. And she's over there getting in front of me, like trying to pull his shirt up. And I'm like, you're allergic to them. Get the heck back. What are you doing? You big dummy. But we're sitting there looking and he's like, just pull my shirt up. And she asked him, and I think that initially she thought maybe he was having a heart attack. And I was like, okay, we're having a medical thing, but I heard him say something that was stinging him. So then I keyed into that. And so she pulled his shirt up, and when she pulled his shirt up and we saw the scratches, initially they were just red marked scratches. And as we watched it or looked at them, you could see the blood starting to ooze from the scratches. And I'm like, immediately my mind goes back to all these times that everyone else has gotten scratched. And I'm like, okay, I'm calling bullshit. And I'm looking and I look at his shirt and it's one of those golf shirts. It's a sweat wicking shirt. So it wicks sweat away from you. So it's real slick and real fine thread. And I look at it, there's no blood on the shirt. So it's a fresh scratch.
Yes.
And pulled the shirt down and looked at the outside of the shirt. And there was not a stitch that was pulled or out of place.
Right.
And like, he never rubbed against anything. He bumped a camera against the door, but that wouldn't have put the scratches in multiple directions like something was attacking him.
Yeah.
That was literally
and his skin was ripped. It was ripped. It wasn't just a scratch. Like if you were to take a fingernail and scratch across somebody, like there was individual little rips. Where like rip, clean skin on the big ones that were bleeding.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then all over, they were not in the same direction. There was multiple scratches all over his back in all different directions. Like something just kept going like this.
It's like, it reminds me of, if you've watched 13 Ghosts, the cage head, when it comes screeching down the hallway.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something of that nature that would have attacked somebody.
Right.
And of course.
Thanks for that visual.
Well, I thought I could help. Sleep well.
Thanks.
But it was one of those things. Like I've seen it before, but I've never seen it happen like this, where it was right in front of me, and there's no logic that I can apply to debunk how it occurred. So I have to say that was my first time witnessing someone get scratched like that.
Yeah, in real time.
Real time.
Especially for all the years you have done this.
I mean,
oh my God.
I've seen people come out and say, "Oh, I've been scratched," after the fact.
Yeah.
And like you're finished investigating, everybody's cleaned up, we're eating pizza, somebody goes to the bathroom, comes out, goes, "Oh my God, I'm scratched."
Yeah.
Oh God.
Just now? Okay.
Or a lot of people will say,
right
like, I have 3 marks.
Yeah.
And 3 is a sign of this or that, or, something crazy. And I always told people, like, just relax. It's fine. It's not life ending.
Well, I do know that a lot of times people assume that 3 is the mocking of the Trinity, which is true. But culturally speaking and historically speaking, 3 has been a sacred number in a lot of religious beliefs.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like sometimes where you're investigating will determine as to whether or not you're dealing with a demonic entity.
Also, if you think about it, and not to derail our entire conversation, but if a demon wants to get you, it's not going to take 3 demonic fingers and lightly scratch your forearm and then be on its merry way.
Yeah.
If it's going to get you, it's going to infiltrate your entire body very quietly and calmly so nobody notices, and then possess you over a very long period of time and isolate you from everything until it eventually wins. It's not going to be like, scratch, bye, have a great night.
Demons have a very specific job, and it's interesting.
Or demonic entities, or whatever we want to call them.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Just like some elementals that
Yeah.
Yes.
are summoned in some cultures, or ever how they've done it,
Yep.
have a specific job, and those critters can be pretty gnarly, and
Yeah.
and
Oh,
people
yeah.
think they're demons, and they're protectors, or they are there to ensure that anyone who crosses them for eons to come feels the wrath of those that were wrong before them.
Yep.
Right. Yeah,
So-
I've learned in all my research, there are two main things that I've learned when it comes to the supernatural. One is that not everything is evil.
Yep.
A lot of times we miscategorize things as evil just because it goes
It's
against.
dark and whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And also, I have a problem, and I see this a lot on YouTube. I have a problem with people that like to call themselves experts, only because these things have been walking around the earth for millennia before we were even consciously aware of our own existence.
Mhm.
And the fact that we've only been practicing a spiritual practice for, if you put the history of the world on a clock, the amount of time we've had to practice spirituality has only been a few seconds. So this idea that we have of people saying, "Oh, I'm an expert. I know all about this," or I know all. Yeah, okay, buddy. Back that up.
Yeah, and two, to blow your mind further,
Uh-oh.
all we know is what has been recorded for the past few thousand years.
Yep.
We are now seeing evidence of even older humanity, where
Right.
there's nothing written from those societies. There's nothing that is available to us from those societies, and we don't have a timeline of them. And if you think about this in our world, and of course, I'm one of these people that thinks way outside the box. If you think about it, we've had this society going for a certain number of thousands of years, and over that time, we've progressively moved forward in some way, shape, or form. But if you look at the amount of time, we really haven't moved that far forward.
Right.
But if you have a great disaster that occurs, so let's talk about super volcanoes. Let's talk about any type of earth movement that removes society from the face of the earth, and then for eons it may take for it to return. Maybe there's some left somewhere, but they may take eons to return. Think about all the knowledge that's lost, because I may have some medical knowledge, but I don't have the knowledge that a physician would have. So if all the physicians are gone, that knowledge is gone. If those books are destroyed, that's gone. If those scrolls are destroyed, that knowledge is gone. There's so much that could be missing out there that we don't know. And anyway, I can go deep in that wormhole. I'll just stop there.
Hey, I'm ready to sit back and listen, so I'm all good.
How many civilizations and cultures were destroyed by other people just wanting control?
Yeah.
Right.
And wanting to convert them. That happened to the Celts. When you talk about people calling themselves experts, I had this discussion with a mentorship group the other night, and I used a quote to try to make them understand, like, what would make somebody an expert, right?
Right.
Just because you have investigated in your small region of where you live for 50 years, you might be an expert in that particular place, but it doesn't make you an expert on the entire, subject, because there's still so much more to learn. I think anybody that feels like they've finally arrived, rather than continuing to learn and grow, your knowledge is going to stop at that moment that you stop. The quote that I used is, "The world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page." And, I think going out there and, Scott and I have done a little bit of it. We seek to do more. But, it takes time. Obviously there's a lot of places in the world, and there's places that none of us will ever see because nobody can get there easily. But investigating or soaking up, because we can't say like every single place we go, we do a paranormal investigation. Most of the time we're soaking up the history, we're soaking up the culture, we're soaking up the stories of their people and understanding how they view.
Something trying to get your attention?
That just flew across the room. I can't make that up if I tried. Anyways,
Yeah,
Welcome to a
it was
house
like
from-
quiet. Like, what's going on? Is everything okay?
you know, the
Welcome to a
basket-
house from the 1700s.
Babe, the basket that I have like all the hair products in on the
Yeah.
corner of the mantle, that
Uh-huh.
it just picked itself up out of the basket and flew toward my bed.
Oh. Okay.
So anyways,
Maybe they don't want you telling our secret.
Great.
Okay. The poor dog is like, get me off this bed now. It flew at me. So what I was trying to say, hopefully nothing else falls out. When you're able to soak up all of those things and be welcomed into it and understand how the world views their culture, the world views their particular supernatural beliefs, their religious beliefs, you come to learn more about how we're all the same, but how we're different. You come to learn the layers of history, the layers that have been lost to history. Scott and I love rewriting history if we can. We've done that, a few times, whether it be small, but finding discrepancies in historical documents through, a ghost telling us what happened, I think is just absolutely fascinating. But being able to experience something other than what you know, we've been able, just for an example, I grew up in New England, that's very old compared to the written history of where Scott grew up in the South. Obviously, much more happened there, but you had a lot of people shoved out, not written down when it came to their culture or their people, for means of control at that point. People lived there for thousands of years and nobody bothered to keep that in history, in recent history. We traveled over to Europe. That history is written far older than what, America has been. I had that argument with my Irish cousin the other day. She's like, so your country is so new. I'm like, no, it is not. It's as old as yours.
There's
you ever
nothing
heard
new about it. Trust me.
You've heard of Pangea.
And some of them came
Right.
over here.
Right.
My argument was Pangea, dinosaurs. They were on every continent.
We're finding more and more all the time that they
Yeah.
traveled more. So
Yeah, but their written history is older than ours.
Yeah.
Their structures are still standing, which is absolutely fascinating. If you guys have never been in a castle in Europe, it's just
No, I
amazing.
wish. I would love to.
you have to.
But to experience spirits that are from the 1500s as opposed to spirits from like the 1700s, like the one that just threw something across my room, or 1800s and early 1900s, like I've come across in Tennessee. It shows you so much about the world and it's fascinating. And people don't care about people anymore. They don't want to
No.
know these things.
No.
But I'm that nerd that will always do that, and I'm going to drag him along with me. So
Yeah.
Wow.
We're a very me society, and what I tend to
Yes.
tell people is that they're not professional. They're not experts in the field, but what
Right.
we do have in the field, we have people who are professionals, and there's a certain way to conduct yourself, and a certain way to think, and a certain way to operate as a professional, where you can have discussions with people, and they don't have to be absolute. You can leave there with something that is thought provoking, that may stir something in you to dig into some type of energy or some type of investigative technique or some type of creation that may help us in discovering what the connection is between the energetic ethos and our living world. And and that's, I think that is the defining layer between a professional in the field and someone who's just in it to for the thrill of the adrenaline rush.
Right.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, I've always kind of thought that too, because one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to, when I watch some of these paranormal shows or a podcast or listen to people talk, you get these hard-headed people that they say they're open-minded, but they're not, and they
No.
end up being hostile or
Ye-
whatever.
Yeah.
And I've always believed if you don't agree with somebody, you have two choices. You can either shut up and leave it alone, or grab some equipment, go out there, and either prove it or disprove it.
Right. And you could sit
Well
down and
said.
talk about it. You can talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yep.
You don't have to. You are entitled to believe and think whatever you want. You are a free living being in this century that we're in.
Right.
And beyond that, we don't know.
Right.
We
No.
we have faith and we have belief and we have certain things that have occurred to us that lead us to existence that occurs beyond that. And in today's scientific society that demands proof, we're looking for that. We're looking for something that proves that there is something else out there. Now, what we may discover down the road through actual study of this is we may find that maybe it's aliens. I don't know.
I hope to God not.
And the only reason I say
No,
that's
we
because
don't
Steph
need
hates
that.
aliens. Steph hates aliens.
Hey, listen,
I'm a fan.
I'm all there too, so I don't want aliens here. No, we have enough problems as it is. The last thing we need is freaking aliens.
No.
I think it's
Hey,
like
listen, those guys
Will
are far
Smith
more
and
advanced than we are.
Independence
They're
Day.
looking down here saying, no, we're staying
Yeah,
over here.
what is
We're-
going on down there?
We'll-
Like,
we'll-
seriously.
We'll let them kill each other, then we'll go take over.
But I will say this, one of the other issues that, like I said, scientific community demands evidence.
Yeah.
And the problem is there are some things we just can't give the evidence on. Look how
Right.
long it took for Einstein's theory about the Higgs boson to be proven. I mean, it took almost 100 years before they actually came up with the technology, the
Yeah.
Large Hadron Collider,
Yes.
to prove that. So it's not that there isn't evidence out there. It's just we may not be at the technological level to be able to pick up those evidence and bring it down to a quantifiable data point.
Well, and what we've done as a society, we have come to put constraints on our laws of physics, science, and chemistry.
Right.
We say everything operates within this neat little sphere and nothing can occur outside of this because it's not proven. Well, that's incorrect, because all of the stuff that we have proven is just our book of knowledge that we've been able to acquire thus far. There's still things out there that for crying out loud, we've not been to some of the deepest places. Well, we've been to the deepest trench in the ocean, but we've still places we haven't explored. There's still land that we haven't explored. There's places in the wilderness that we've not explored. And that brings us to Bigfoot. But there's
And we know more about space than we do about our own ocean.
You're right, absolutely, 100%.
Or supposedly.
We've not.
Yeah,
That's another
exactly.
story. But we've we've not been through the layers of the earth. We don't know what exists in the center. We have speculation of what exists there, but no one's been there to visually see it. So what proof do you have except for some scientist said, I postulate this based upon this calculation and that makes it true. And so then everybody's like, oh, we follow, we believe. And it may not be.
It's so true though. And it's the
true.
science that people are comfortable with.
Yes.
And to not create mass hysteria or to stroke somebody's ego or whatever it might be. We have the science and the technology to prove that energy is real. We know that from 7th grade science class, right? Force, motion. So why we know that we put off energy. We know that we have the ability to be energy. One of the fascinating things that I think, if you guys are not familiar with, is the Division of Perceptual Studies at the University of Virginia. There's a group of doctors and scientists that study people like myself. They were featured in the Netflix documentary Surviving Death.
Yes.
And I will be honest with you, like some of
Watch
the
it.
crazy stuff, I was yelling at the TV. He'll tell you. We were sitting in Hawaii. I'm yelling at the TV about like seance parts and mediumship and stuff like that. But the part where they follow near-death experiences and children recalling past lives, absolutely fascinating.
I was telling that one of those stories just the other day.
Were you?
Yeah, I was.
So the Division of Perceptual Studies has different studies that happen from time to time. They study people like myself, and they study currently, I haven't checked in a while, but their last current project was near-death experiences and trying to prove that consciousness exists outside of the physical body. And they have been able to gather enough evidence to really sit there and prove that this is exactly what happens. But it's the
Mhm.
science that people are comfortable with, that you can't go and tell the world, guess what? When you die, this is what happens. Or you can die, this happens, and then you come back to your physical body, because people will lose their minds. And a lot of it goes against their organized religion beliefs. And
Right.
that just sends people into a whole new, wormhole of crazy.
Well,
So,
yeah, I found this out recently, and this really tripped me up because
Mhm.
I was raised a Christian. The early Christian, prior to the Spanish Inquisition, actually believed in reincarnation. It wouldn't be until the Roman emperor would, establish Christianity as its primary religion. But if you actually go before that, between the time when Jesus died to Rome establishing Christianity as its main religion, there was a period when they actually did believe in reincarnation.
There was a
Don't
group.
get me
Yes.
started on the
Yeah, there was
Roman
a group.
Empire.
Yeah, no, that's the
So,
thing.
How
When you
much
get-
time do you have?
That's a lot of discussion right there.
It is.
Yeah.
And I've got books that I can reference.
Right above your head.
Right
I can
above my
only
head.
imagine.
so that actually goes into one of the questions I have. Have either one of you experienced any of your Akashic records?
No. Not through somebody that claims to read Akashic records. Do I think that different parts of past lives and your soul contract can come to you in this particular life? Yes. Can I say that Scott and I have experienced some of that in this lifetime? Absolutely. But I still feel weird about people that claim to fully read Akashic records, or people that do just straight up like past life readings, not a regression, because most of the time it doesn't resonate with the person that's sitting there. So it's hard to validate. But Scott and I have had some really strange experiences that would probably take us the next 3 days to tell you guys. That have
I've had some myself, so I kind of
we kind of accidentally discovered that this probably is not the first life that we've lived together. In a very,
Wow.
very strange, bizarre way that just continues 7 years later. I think that's probably the best way to sum that up, unless you have it. Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
good enough for me.
That's a really good way to sum it up, because I mean it's one thing to sit down and look and say, okay, this is what I see when I get in this meditative state where I'm able to explore this. It's another when you both do that and you come out and you individually write down what you saw, and then you compare it, and they are of the utmost similarities that it's undeniable.
They're puzzle pieces.
like
that fit
down
Especially
together.
from a kid.
kind of like down to the building and what they
Yeah,
were
oh, yeah.
wearing. And
No,
everything.
down to the pattern that is on the pants that you're wearing at the time of this death.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was
we
freaky.
we've experienced that. We've also, I think a lot of people, especially in romantic relationships, will fantasize the idea of having a twin flame or a soulmate or being with somebody in a past life,
Yep.
because that's what everybody really feels from, TV and movies and stuff like that, that's what you want in your life. Sometimes they don't feel like their relationship that they have is happy enough or good enough because they don't fit those categories, according to what mainstream media puts out there. When Scott and I met, neither of us were looking for a relationship at all. We were probably, I don't want to speak for you, but the furthest away from ever wanting another relationship. We had both been through hell and back. And when we met, it was insane from the minute that we shook hands. And I remember thinking when I first met him, like, I know you. And like the way we met was just so strange. And we walked away from that. And I just thought, like, I'll never see you again. I'll never talk to you again. But like, I know you, and this bothers me. It wasn't like, oh God, he's really attractive. Like, of course he is. But like, it wasn't like a, I need to be with you. It was like, I don't know how I know you. And it really, like, it unsettled my soul. And it bothered me to the core. But to realize that we had, some things happened to us that day that neither of us could explain, that neither of us had ever felt before. that could be categorized, I guess, would be like supernatural. We didn't know what to do with it. It wasn't like, oh wow, it's like this romantic, love story, and this is how it happened. It scared us both. I think it made us both have a lot of questions and go like, I don't know if I want to meet this person again. What else is going to happen?
Yeah.
And every single time we saw each other physically, like in person, because we lived 1,000 miles apart from each other, something strange would happen. And it would freak us both out to the point where, like, almost like when you stick your finger up to like an electrical socket and it sparks.
Right.
And you keep doing it and it keeps happening. Like, you keep wondering, like, why am I doing this?
Okay, I assume you're only talking about like getting close to it, not actually sticking it in the socket, because that's the kind of stuff my uncle used to do to us kids. Well, let him learn. He'll learn eventually.
We didn't learn. Okay, we're still here. We didn't learn, and it's only gotten far worse 7 years later.
Ooh.
So
energized.
There's no saying it at this point. So, but
Well, we are at that 1 hour mark. We're actually past the 1 hour mark.
Damn.
yeah.
Oh man, it went quick, didn't it?
So, we can
did.
continue the conversation, or we can, leave it at the cliffhanger for a part 2 and have you guys come back and, and just keep going further down the rabbit hole. And hopefully, I will say, I do have a really bad penchant for, when I start down a rabbit hole, I just cut the brake line and let that go-kart go. So
Here we go.
But you know what? That's the amazing part about philosophical discussions is that when you get to that point and you're able to just let go and get into philosophical academic type discussion, you find out so much that you're able to take away from everyone who is helping each other learn. Right. And you can take that into your own lives, into your own investigations, into your own exploration, and it helps you grow. And it's the best way to do it. I mean, it really is. It's when you get down to it, the world of paranormal investigators and teams and paradrama and BS and all that, it's all because people want that individualism. They want to be the standout. And if you wipe that piece away and you just say, hey, we're all here just to try to learn and just to try to find answers. And let's share that with each other and share our life experiences. And then maybe we can figure something out. And if we do, let's talk about it. I don't have to believe everything you say, but you know what? Listen to me and take it away. And I'll listen to you and we just explore. So, and then like you said earlier, even though you might not believe in it then, but maybe it will vibrate something, and it's like, hey, wait a minute. You never know. Or you've had the conversation before. And it's like, hey, we went down this. Now I've seen what he's talking about. That's it. I remember one of the very first times that I spoke to a group. I was in New York, actually, in a stadium, and I spoke to a group. And now, mind you, this group was all professed werewolves and vampires. Nothing against them. I mean, they were great people. They didn't. No one ate me.
Hey, how you doing?
but I was explaining to them my religious beliefs, but not in an adversarial way. It's like, I'm not preaching to you. I'm just telling you what I believe, and I'm tying that belief into how it's helped me to evolve as an investigator and how I'm able to have my faith in one hand and science in the other and walk this path. And it was amazing that after the show, I had this one woman, I'll never forget it. I was 3 kinds of SOBs before I got up and spoke. That's what she told me. I mean, I was like every word out of her mouth, I was an SOB. And I got up and spoke, did this whole presentation thing. And we got finished. The crowd was clapping. Everybody was happy. I walked out. She come up and she stuck her hand out. She said, I want to shake your hand as an equal. And I was like, what do you mean as an equal? She goes, I judged you beforehand, but I've never heard anyone explain what you just explained the way you explained it. And it makes sense.
Right.
And I was like, that's cool. That's the greatest compliment that you can ever get. Yeah. Is that someone has that epiphany and is able to understand something and it's not adversarial. Right.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and it's also, like you said, it's a great feeling that, that you can actually exchange that with each other and get along and understand it from there.
That's it.
Yeah, people can only apply that to the world of politics.
Oh, most definitely.
Right.
I agree.
Amen.
I agree.
Let's not get into that one.
No, but wouldn't it be nice if we could?
Yeah.
We
all
would be
live in
here
harmony?
all night with that
All
one.
night
Let
long.
me tell you, all night
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, see, I used to have a podcast where I was kind of like Joe Rogan a little bit, where
Yeah.
I was questioning everything, and I would piss people off to no end.
But that's the thing. You have to question everything.
Well, oh, there she is.
Everything froze. That was weird.
That was-
Okay, well, you're back.
That's good.
Could be her ghost.
I don't know what's
Could be.
happening now.
Really
Usually
weird.
everything behaves, but I'm sitting in a different
Been
spot
out
than I
for over
normally
an
am.
hour. We need to haunt.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's what it is. I mean, my lamp hasn't clicked off yet, and sometimes that thing
No,
will
it
just
hasn't.
turns off.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Now that you
had
said
that
it, it might
happen.
do it now.
Listen,
Watch, it's gonna
yeah.
do it now.
I have it
Yeah.
on video. Oh night I was sitting there because it happened, and I was videoing, and I'm videoing the lamp, and I said, okay, if you're still here, I know that you just did this, but can you do it one more time? Just turn that little knob, turn that lamp off, and you can literally hear the button click. The light goes off. It's awesome.
No!
it's
It's
awesome.
like kid in a candy store with that one.
Yes.
Yeah, the very first podcast I was on, Crossover Paranormal with Jonathan Meyer, and Lisa was like, "Aaron, do you realize that your lights are flickering in your kitchen?" And I looked, and sure enough, my lights were flashing. And I'm looking back, I'm like, I can't explain that. My wife goes in there, turned on the kitchen light, does whatever, and it comes back out, turned the light off, starts flashing again. And at this point, I was just new to actually investigating. I've been studying the paranormal for years, but I was just getting into investigation. And I was like, you know what? Screw this. I went in there, unplugged the lights. I said, I am not playing this game tonight.
I don't usually win that battle. I'll wake
Oh
up with
boy.
the TV turns itself on. The light in the room outside my bedroom will just randomly turn itself on. So I just give up.
Your security cameras say person detected.
Oh my god, that's driving me absolutely insane. I just put up
That's a
security
new one.
cameras.
Get that notification thing.
My whole
2 in the morning.
so when I was younger, I would be able to hear something happening, and I'd be able to stand at the bottom of the stairs and just slightly see my bedroom and my TV, and I would see that it's on, and I'd yell up the stairs and knock it off, shut it down, and they'd shut it right off. Or I'd wake up in the middle of the night to my TV turned on and just the number 9 going across the TV, somebody's just leaning on the remote. That used to drive me crazy too. I'm like, stop it, I'm trying to sleep.
Oh my
they-
gosh.
The worst thing, Scott bought me this, I don't know what the heck it's called, but you plug it in, you plug your, lamps and stuff into it. So you have a little remote where you can turn it off from across the room. Cause I just got lazy. I'm like, I don't want to keep walking across the room to turn my lamp off. So that was his way of solving my laziness. So the remote will be on my nightstand and I'll hear click and my lights will turn on in the middle of the night. And it drives me absolutely insane because I'm like, nobody wants to wake up to lights on,
No.
surprise. So that happens quite often, but I installed security cameras recently, and the ones that I have either say motion detected or person detected, and they are highly accurate. And it keeps telling me only occasionally, but nonstop. It's not just one time. It's 10 times in a row, person detected. And there's nothing there. There's not even a squirrel. There's no movement. And it's driving me absolutely bonkers. So I'm going to have to go talk to the ghosts out there and just be like, listen.
Yeah. What the crap?
Make me bring the
Stop.
holy water.
But
It's
we
so
have seen
bad.
ghosts in that area before, so it makes
we
sense.
have. We know.
Yes.
They're just not being picked up by the video camera. I'm not out there at the time it's happening. But actually, I was on the phone with you this morning.
You were.
And I said, oh, look, I'm in my driveway. And it says that there is a person detected on my car camera, which is directly behind my car, but there's nothing here.
Yeah, I've been seeing a
wow.
lot of videos pop up about that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
it's-
cool.
It's annoying to me. I'm like,
It
stop
can be
running the
annoying.
batteries down on my cameras because I'm gonna have to keep charging them.
I think I'd grab a lawn chair and go out there and sit and start talking to them, see if I
We
can
do.
get some EVPs.
We
We
have.
do that.
We do
start a
that
little fire.
often.
Wow, that's crazy.
We'll sit out by the fire. But I mean, the area that I grew up in, this entire area, all the land was King Philip's War, which was the bloodiest Native American battle in U.S. history.
Wow.
If you guys don't know about it, definitely look into it. It's
Will
it's
do.
pretty harsh. So there's a lot of Native American energy around here, and just a lot of energy in general. So we'll sit out there, we'll talk to things. There was one night we tried to do an investigation here, and we actually heard a horse.
What?
And we thought we were insane, and we went outside. There were
Tracks.
That'd be cool.
And there's no
Wow.
way. Like, if somebody was riding a horse in this neighborhood, first of all, it's illegal where I am. Like, you can't do that. You can't just ride a horse up the street.
Right.
It would not happen. So
I just noticed something. I wanted to correct it real quick. I think I may have sent you the cut off my. Oh no, I didn't. So my at the bottom of the screen that's scrolling, it says at Scott Porter. It should be at Scott Porter TN. That at Scott Porter's that guy from like Friday Night Lights or whatever, you know.
Gotcha.
I'm
he's
always
an
get accused of
imposter.
being him. He's an imposter.
He's an imposter.
He's an imposter.
Oh God. Well, that was quite interesting. Was not expected, but thank you. Loved it. No, but that's very interesting that you get to sit outside and investigate, but having it in your house, I would have a hard time sleeping with one eye open. I don't know if I can sleep. I don't know
I'm
how do
used
you
to it.
handle that. Like, you have to like say like, "Don't bother me, I'm sleeping," or do you just lay there with your eyes hoping to go to sleep without them like, "Hey, you awake
Sometimes I
yet?"
just hear it. I mean, I don't know how to describe it except for like, because I've experienced it my whole life here.
Right.
I know that it's familiar energy. I absolutely
Okay.
know when it's not.
So you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, so I'm like, if I hear like bootsteps, like walking up to my door, I'm like, whatever, like, good night. There was one night I felt so bad. Scott was here.
Mm-hmm.
There we
And
go.
I think that was the night you said, babe, that you kept waking up to somebody walking into the doorway and around the bed.
Yeah.
And it happened
Yeah,
like
all
3 to
nights.
5 times. And I just slept through it
Wow.
because I'm just used to it.
Right.
And he's
Yeah,
like,
I
somebody was
don't-
walking in the room all night.
Clump, clump, shh, clump, clump, shh, clump, clump, shh, clump, clump. Shh. Like,
Yeah.
what the heck are
See,
you doing?
I'm a light sleeper. That would drive me batshit crazy. And knowing that somebody is watching me while I'm sleeping and knowing that I hear it, I'm fully awake.
I look
can't
at him and
sleep
say,
like
listen,
that.
if you don't want to see it, you better leave or close your eyes. That's all I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
You have been forewarned. I'm just telling
Oh
you.
my God.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been quite a few things that have happened to him in this house. That have been, mighty surprising. But the thing that doesn't bother me about here is they are very protective of the family and the house and the land. And they have proven to me time and time again that they are absolutely watching out for me. So
Nice.
we just coexist and it works. So they don't really bother me. It's just, if you're trying to take me out with something that's flying across the room, like just, let's be a little bit more gentle with that. But
Well, see, I live in an apartment complex that is plagued with shadow figures.
Mhm.
And my wife sees them all the time. Her sister across the hall sees them all the time. We have this elderly woman that lived down the hall. She tells me about them all the time. In fact, there's actually, I was telling Anna about this a couple of days ago. Upstairs, down the hall, there's the corner apartment. For a long time, there was a woman that lived there, and she has suffered some mental deterioration. At least that's what we believe.
Mhm.
Because she was always thinking, "Oh, the FBI is out there watching me. My phone wired, all this." She just rambling. She couldn't control her bodily functions, so she would sometimes, mess herself, and she died. Well, about 2 months later, a young guy moved in there. we all met him. You know, it seemed like a pretty decent guy. He moved in there, and then like about 3 months into his stay, he started displaying the same symptoms, and he even had to get checked into the hospital because he was saying the FBI is watching him. His phones were bugged. His place was bugged. And he eventually moved out. Well, now my sister-in-law, who lives across the hall, is thinking about moving into that apartment because it's a two-bedroom. She just got a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, you know, on one side of me, it's just like, what are you, freaking nuts?
Yeah.
You know the history of this place. There's like bad juju here. And the other side of me is like, well, if she moves in tonight,
I get to investigate.
Well, there could be like a scientific cause for that happening too. It could be high EMF that's causing it.
Right.
You know, it could be fumes that's causing it.
Yeah. Originally, I had thought maybe black mold, but then I was thinking, well, if it was black mold, more people would get it because that would get in the air vent.
Listen, I have found people who were having they had toxic poisoning because of a glue that was used that was interacting with the padding in the carpet. I had another family one time that had stored fertilizer under their house, and
wow.
Listen, it was about to kill them. Like if we hadn't discovered like what was causing it, it would have killed them.
Yeah.
You know, because that stuff was starting to break down, and it was bad. But you know, it could be any number of things that's causing it. But you also have to think too that as the mind starts to become altered in that different consciousness, you know, there's things that you connect with in that conscious travel as your mind changes the way it works. You know, we see it a lot, and we just write it off. But you know, I personally think there's something to that as the mind is altered.
Yeah.
Oh, so many good conversations.
I know.
I could take it a whole other route right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you got kids and you gotta get going. I wish I could have you here a little bit longer. I really pushed it a little bit more than I expected, but I really appreciate it from the both of you guys. I truly do. And
absolutely,
this was absolutely great having you guys here.
We'll have to book you on again.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So do you guys have anything coming up in the future, or do you care to share anything?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
What date is Holbrook?
So we will be in South Weymouth, Massachusetts, investigating a place called the Holbrook Homestead, which has never been investigated before. It is brand new to the world of paranormal investigation. It dates back to the 1700s, but it also is used as a museum that holds centuries worth of artifacts, which is absolutely wild. We've been in there ourselves. We've held some pretty cool objects that were present at the time that we were there.
Like Abigail Adams' dress?
Yes.
Wow.
Like uniforms from the Civil War?
Yeah,
Yes.
Revolutionary
War.
Yeah.
There's items in there from every war that we've ever fought in.
Yes. So it's phenomenal. It's a really cool location. So we're looking forward to that. That is March 23rd. And we have tickets still on sale. Not very many are left. And you can get those by going to hauntedholbrook.eventbrite.com, or just go to one of our social media pages that since are up there, and it's easy, and you can find it there, or message us and we'll send you the link.
And it's going to be small groups too. That's going to be the best part, because it is a small location like that. But we're doing small groups for this one, and it's the first, you know. So let's try it out and see what happens.
And you won't have to deal with conflicting vibrations from people contaminating the overall feel.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So other than that, we have plenty going on.
I see.
We just haven't announced it yet. So we're always up to something.
I was sitting here thinking, I was about to say something else. I can't say that yet.
Damn.
So it's getting late, and I don't have any more caffeine in me right now. So I'm kind of like I'm getting loose lips, you know.
If you guys are more interested in finding out what Scott and Stephanie have going on, the link for their pages are down in the description. You go there, check them out, follow them, support them, share their post. Speaking of sharing, you're more than welcome to share whatever you've got going on Paraphobia Radio.
Thank you.
Yep.
We've been more than
This
happy
is
to
your
help
home
you.
now. So
Wonderful.
Don't be
appreciate
shy. Anybody who comes on this broadcast, we treat them with love and respect, and to make them feel like you don't have to be shy to come here just because they were just only on the broadcast. This is your home now. You can share whatever you like. You can share anything you like, Stephanie, about if you got anything going on with your medium or anything like that.
Thank you.
I have a lot of respect for that as well. Scott, the drill. Anything you got going on is more than welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, the same for my page as well for the Eternal Wolfpack Paranormal. You're more than welcome to post anything on there as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, we got a lot of pages. Trying to think of all the pages to tell you. It's like, did I miss one?
Well, that's why I had to stop accepting so many invites. If I go back and look at my page invites, I'm just like, oh crap.
Oh, I still get so many paranormal investigator invites on Paraphobia Radio. It's insane. So I appreciate it. I really do. But it's very hard to keep up with sometimes.
It's tough.
That's why I have him.
I love it.
Yeah. We miss so much because our pages are just crazy too. But we definitely appreciate all of you having us on. And we'd love to come back in the future.
Yeah,
enjoy it. So I was hoping you say that.
You guys are great. It's a great show. So we love
thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so very much. It was a real,
thanks for coming, guys.
Real honor to have you guys here. It really was very unexpected. And thanks to Scott for responding to me, which it was a real honor with that. I have to get you on my pages, Stephanie. So this way you have me on there.
Perfect.
Cool.
All right. Well,
I'll shut up now.
With that being said, I'm going to put you guys in the back room and just hang tight for a quick minute, and we'll just kind of do a quick discussion about where the audio of this goes and all that.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks again so much, guys, and I'll talk to you guys in just a moment.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, that was an awesome show. What do you guys think?
That was absolutely amazing. I'm so awesome. Speechless. I can't even say anymore.
that was definitely a great show.
Yes. Oh, it was unbelievable. So tune in. March 1st will be another paranormal TV guest coming on. The secret will be out soon this weekend or next week. The flyer will be coming out. After that, I think I have another second paranormal investigator that has also been on TV, which I know who he is. So there's two coming on, which I am very thankful for, and I cannot wait to announce them. And with that said, excellent show, everybody. Well done.
I agree.
Thank you for being here, Sean, again. I appreciate all your help. And Shadow, well done, like always.
I appreciate you having me, guys. This is great.
All right.
Welcome.
Well, any last shout-outs you want to do for your page, Sean?
This Sunday, we have Jamie Lynn Keller from Party Paranormal. Okay. She'll be on the show. And like I said, you can find me on the Eternal Wolfpack Paranormal. And you can find me on Serene Divine with Pam Harris and with Anna and Aaron here.
All right. Well, that just leaves me, I guess. So.
Yep, absolutely.
As I always say, be smart, be safe, and be kind to one another, because you never know, your one act of kindness might change somebody's life. And as always, stay spooky.